Have you ever wondered if it's actually possible to build wealth in a super hot real estate market? When I talk super hot, I mean sellers are selling fast, they're selling for over asking, and there's very little inventory. Well, if you've asked that question, then you're listening to the right show. So I'm Ken Dekker from the Dekker team, and I have Kelly Wilson from the Wilson team and Invest Financial with me. And we're excited to be with you and welcome you to another episode of The Inside Track, where we share tools, techniques, and thoughts that we all need. We all deserve, you, me, everyone, to turn your house into a home where our families thrive and we live the best life possible. So, how do we build wealth even in a super hot real estate market?
Which is now. If you're looking around, it's right now.
Yeah. So let's get down to the top 10 ways. We're gonna crush it today.
We are gonna crush it.
We're gonna crush 10 top ways. We're gonna count them down, and we might leave out some details. So if you go, oh, those are great ideas, how do I implement them? Well, you might just have to phone Kelly. Where would they phone you?
My office, my cell.
Yeah. What number would their office be?
613-266-3570.
Right. Or you can call me at 613-860-4663, and we'll help you through this process of building wealth because it's a formula.
It is a formula, 100%.
Right. So what's number 10?
Number 10 is leveraging equity out of your existing property.
Right.
So
because that's changed, right?
It has.
Because when the market was going up 1-2%, and you can still make money in a market that's going up 1-2%,
Absolutely.
You can make a ton of money. And now in the last year, I looked at the February stats. February average sale this year over February last year was up 8%.
Wow.
So if we look at a rough 8%, if you had a $400,000 house, let's say, it's now worth, say, $416. Now that can vary because markets vary depending on where your house is located. But let's say it went up $16,000 and maybe you've paid down your mortgage because you've lived in it 5 years. So you maybe owe, say, $330,000 on it. So you're going to have about $80,000, $90,000 in equity in your house. So that's cool. Maybe not quite enough to pull money out yet.
Maybe not, but we are noticing a lot more people taking advantage of secured lines of credits, refinancing the property, and being able to take the equity that they've made because of the increase of prices, because of the pay down of property now. And what we're seeing actually, just because when you look at leveraging or taking money out of the current property, a lot of people are keeping their existing homes now and then buying something else, right? Because it's harder to get back into the market with an investment property because when you buy something brand new, you can still do 5% down, right? If you're going to live in it.
So you stole number 8.
I stole number 8. I did steal number 8. But
that's okay.
But
you said we'd rush right through.
We would. We're just jumping ahead. But yeah, the existing equity is something that you can contact us and we can look at increasing the current mortgage. So it doesn't really make a huge difference because every $20,000 that you increase your mortgage by only affects your payment about $95 a month.
$95 for 20 grand?
For $20,000.
Wow, but not at payday loans.
No. And can I share something else?
Sure.
That if you take the money out of your house to buy an investment property, it's now, has been tax deductible.
The interest is tax deductible.
The interest is tax deductible.
So that's number 8. I'm going to jump back to number 9.
Okay.
Actually, let's talk about number 8 for a second longer because that's pretty cool. Now, some people might say, oh, I don't want to buy with only 5% down. If I'm renting my existing place and I'm going to go buy one for me at 5% down, I'm going to have to pay some CMHC fees. And I don't like paying those fees because I never get them back. Now, we just did an example, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And we're not telling you because you have to talk to us in person.
Yeah.
But that $15,000 CMHC fee on a $400,000 property could actually net you over $100,000 in profit.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing is everybody has this stigma around CMHC when they're buying a second property. And the reality is the $15,000 really only changes your payment minimally, right? Your mortgage payment minimally, let's say $75.
Right. Based on that $90,000 or $900 for, no, what did you say? $95 for $20,000.
Right. So it makes a very small impact on the overall monthly payment because it is amortized. And you think about how long you would have to wait, right? Which is part of your formula of saying, how many years do I have to save? How much net dollars do I have to be banking everything to accumulate that 20% down? It's huge. And you've kicked yourself out of the market for 5 years minimum.
And meanwhile,
right?
the pricing is going up. So you need the 20% is even more money in 5 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So number 9.
Okay.
We're going to jump back to number 9.
Yeah.
If you're keeping track and you're writing these down, this is number 9, is buy a multi-unit building. Now, multi-unit buildings are evaluated based on basically cap rates. And a cap rate is a multiplier of the net profit of a building without having to pay the mortgage payment, right? So now multi-units, people can look at a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex. Those are multi-units. And then to get into what is considered quasi-commercial, how many units we got to go?
You have to go over 5 units.
Over 5 units. Okay. So when would I get this question a lot, when would I want to incorporate to own real estate as an investment?
You're asking me?
Yes, because I know there's 2 times, but I'm asking you because you're the guest.
So for myself personally, and based on my situation, I typically only set up a corporation when I'm buying multi-units, and I do have a shared partnership.
Okay.
So that's typically when we like to set up a corporation when you've got multiple partners and you're stepping into the commercial side of things.
Okay, so as soon as you go incorporated, your mortgage is going to be in a commercial mortgage.
For me, yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's lots of people that want to buy single unit properties, right? Lots of townhouses and set up a corporation to secure all of those properties. But
But can they get a normal residential mortgage?
It's very difficult.
For a corporation?
Not too many financial institutions are eager to jump on board and add a corporation number to the typical residential properties, right?
Right.
So the neat part is anything under 5 units, you have to qualify with all of your liabilities and your income, right? So there's a debt service ratio that you have to fall under the regular rules and guidelines.
Right.
Once you step over the line of the 5 units, you become less valuable in the transaction. It starts to become all about the property.
So the building's more valuable than me?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So the qualifying is totally different.
All right.
Right.
So then we look at the income of the property.
Yeah, the economic life.
You might have to put more down payment.
Well, that's the neat part is a lot of people don't realize that if you are looking at straight residential in terms of the multi-unit structure, that you can still partner with CMHC and put 15% down.
Wow. And sometimes on multi-units, I can also negotiate a seller take-back mortgage.
Absolutely.
Of maybe 10%,
Yeah.
which can reduce how much down payment you got to bring to the table. And then you're not worried about your own income, you're worried about the building's income to be able to pay the mortgage payment. And the beauty with that is you can rapidly increase the value of a multi-unit building by doing a tenant change out, like improving the building or slowly raising the rents, or as tenants leave, if their market rents are lower than they should be, bringing the market rent up. Because it's a multiplier, it increases the value of the property very, very quickly.
It does, yeah.
So I kind of like multi-units. People are a little afraid of them, but I really like them. And the other reason I like them is you divide your risk. So if you've got 5 or 8 units in a building and one person leaves, it's only like 1/8 of the revenue is gone for a month. It's not like you had 1 unit, it's vacant, now I got no income.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we did number 8.
Okay.
Number 7 is buy a new build. Now you did that just recently.
I did.
And you used a realtor.
I did. You have to. You have to use a realtor
You have to use a realtor.
for everything.
So why buy a new build right now in a super hot market?
Well, there's a few reasons why you can buy a new build. There's basically the increase of value, right? Having that lag time in terms of what it will be worth when it closes, because most of them are taking a year to 2 years anyways, right?
Right, a year to 2 years out now to build, because there's such a demand for properties. The builders are behind as well.
They are behind, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also think it's a good way to start putting some additional money away, right? That you can get in with the initial deposit on the property and then have the additional time to create some more savings in the interim.
Right. So typically, are they like 5%, 5%, 5%, or what
Every builder's different. You
Everyone's
can put as little as 5% down, and then some require 10%. So it just depends who the builder is and where you're buying.
I think they'll give you some leeway too. If you say my mortgage is going to be a 5% down mortgage, then they're not going to require you to put more than 5% down, because they know you won't have it. You can't have it.
And if they do, you get it back. So that's another big question that we get too, right? Is that if you really only want to stick with the 5% down, and you have to put a 10% deposit, so you borrowed or put it on a line of credit, right, to get it done, you'll get that back on closing.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. What's number 6?
Number 6, loan out money on first and seconds. This is my favorite.
Now you can't see Kelly's smile on the radio, but she's grinning ear to ear.
Yeah.
She likes loaning out money. You were saying before the show that you're doing more private lending as a mortgage broker.
Past 6 months, and I've probably done in about 20 years.
Really? 20 years?
It's incredible.
You don't look old enough to have been in the business for 20 years,
Thank
Kelly.
you. I'm not. Yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. We're probably, doing at least as many privates as we are just regular mortgage right now. And so for a few people, right? So we have a lot of investor clients that may not necessarily be in a position to purchase property or want to take on property, but they love real estate. Right? And they love the ability to be able to help somebody else and make a good return.
So they love the safety
of
real estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when they loan out their money, it's attached to that hard asset.
100%. It's a security, and they become a direct partner with the property and the borrower, where it's not done through a third party. They get to have full control of their funds, right? So it's important to look at different ways to, I guess, mitigate risk, and that's where having a broker would allow you to do that and underwrite that, as opposed to just maybe, lending it to somebody you don't know enough about, or hearing a story you don't really know what the exit strategy is, right?
Right. So what kind of safety valves do you kind of look at for your people that are loaning money through you on real estate?
So any investor that I know personally, as opposed to a corporation or a certain MIC, if the loan to value is good, and let me tell you, this stress test has really, really impacted, and I think that's why we see such an influx, right, of private funds.
Money, 'cause people can't buy.
Right, and it's limiting self-employed, right? It's limiting non-traditional income sources, and it's basically being able to sort of, it's not that it's jumping through hoops, but if you can't borrow from your own financial institution,
right,
private money is anywhere from 6 to, let's say, 15%, right?
Ooh, 15%.
Yeah, it can get as high as 15%. But again, if your credit cards are sitting at 30 or 25,
15's a bargain.
15's a bargain, right?
And there's lots of people out there with credit card balances. You see it. You see the applications all the time.
Absolutely. And so we see a lot of not making sense lending on a daily basis with the financial institutions. And to me, I think private money is the best thing that ever happened.
So when you say not making sense lending, you mean they're not lending when it makes sense for them to lend?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. When you're looking and going, I don't understand. This person has so much equity in their home. They've never missed payments. They've got excellent credit. And you can't lend them a penny more than what you've already done based on maybe a non-traditional income or maybe the deductions they've created for themselves or what have you. So What looks good on my end is somebody who has built a lot of equity in the property. So I typically like security that has a lot of equity. Location is another one. It has to be something that can sell within 3 to 4 months. So a saleable property. We typically like to see that there is an exit strategy, whether it be 1 to 3 years. So we really mitigate the files and look at how is this person going to pay us back, right?
Right.
And if it seems a bit risky or not within my comfort zone, then we typically have lots of institutions that will assist with that, right?
Okay.
And they charge a bit higher fees.
Yeah. So if you're thinking, hey, I've got some money, and it could be even RSP money, right? That's sitting there in the markets that is volatile or hasn't been making anything for you. You could swing some over to Kelly and somewhere between 8 and 15%, depending on the file and what the risk factor is. I guess the more risky it is, the higher the interest rate. And whether it's a first, that'll be a lower interest rate. If it's a second mortgage, meaning you're in second place if something goes wrong.
The 2 we closed last week, just to give you a prime example, was a property was evaluated about $3 million, and the first mortgage was at $900,000 with a very good interest rate, and they wanted to take out about $600,000 because they wanted to inject some further money into the building because they had 5 more units that they wanted to complete, and the building is beautiful, probably one of the most beautiful buildings I had seen, but they couldn't get the funds, and we're at under 50%. Value of the property.
Under 50%.
Right, and the clients are
So they needed a second.
They needed a second, so the investor's making 9%
Ooh, that's
annually.
Good. That's good.
It is good, right? And the borrowers get to do all of the work that they wanted to do, right?
And it makes sense for them.
Right, and once the building's done, then they can do a refinance and then pay off that investor.
Right, so it's a short. 6 months, a year,
6 months,
whatever.
a year, 2 years.
Okay,
we have
so
lots
that's the
of them.
kind of thing where you, and then you just roll your money into another good project like that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that was number 6. Number 5, I love this one because people come to me all the time and say, I want a property that cash flows. And I'll say,
Why?
okay. Kelly says, why? No, I don't ask why. Why actually creates some pushback.
Yeah.
I understand why they want positive cash flow because it feels good. You don't have to cut a check each month. You're actually making money. It's building a little slush fund for a repair here or there or whatever.
Yeah.
But generally that takes a little more down payment in this market to buy it that it's got positive cash flow. And when I run the numbers, even if you have to stroke a check for $100, $200, $300 a month, if you look at the focus on the return, the return is huge. And you worked out an example. I think you posted it on Instagram. So how would they look you up on Instagram if they wanted to see that example?
Kelly Wilson Mortgages.
Okay. So if you go into Instagram, you
Kelly
Google
Wilson
or
Mortgages?
you search Kelly Wilson Mortgages. She put in a great example on how much money you would need even if real estate only went up 1%, and by the way, in the last 60 years, it's averaged 4.5%, and it's only gone down 3 times, less than 2% each year that it went down, and it's averaging 4.5 on average. But you did the example at 1%.
I did 1%, the absolute bare minimum, 1%. So buying for $300,000 today, and then 20 years from now, it being worth $360,000. How much would you have to put away every single month for the next 20 years in order to have $360,000?
Right.
It's $1,500 a month. After
$1,500 a
you
month?
pay all your bills and all your taxes, you got to bank $1,500 a month.
Wow. So if you're buying that property and it's short a couple hundred,
I'm okay with that.
You're
I'm
okay
okay
with
with
that.
because I use the bank's money and then I got a tenant to pay off the bank's loan. So,
you smart.
and I got to tax deduct the interest that the bank lent me
Right.
with all the other awesome tax deductions that you get.
Right. And so when you're a fairly high income earner, the tax write-off is actually a welcome
It is a welcome
thing.
It's not for everybody, but again, it depends where where your retirement is, where your current investments are, right? But for somebody who's in a very high income bracket, you're trying to create deductions, not additional income to pay more taxes, right? So you need to create as much deduction as you can towards the rental income that you're getting to drive the taxes down.
And those owning those properties when you retire is just golden.
Absolutely. I said,
golden retirement.
where are you going to get, millions of dollars that you didn't pay off, that somebody else paid off for you, and then when you start getting your rental income in retirement,
because the mortgage is paid off.
The mortgage is paid off, and you're not even touching the asset. You're just taking the income and not touching the asset. So it's not like an investment where you have to start depleting it, right? And taking out the asset, right?
And so you can live on that and
keep it and let it keep growing.
Pass it on to future generations.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, so number 4. We're ripping right through. We're doing great.
We're good.
Number 4, Kelly.
Higher interest rates. I love higher interest rates. They don't bother me.
Yeah, but you're a mortgage broker.
I know, but I think about, if I did, it's funny because you say, well, how many properties do you have? Well, I have 23 properties. What interest rate are you paying?
Yeah.
Has that ever been a question?
No.
No, I don't think so. Right?
So you don't mind paying some extra to leverage more to get more properties?
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm in a position now where my average interest rate is between 5.5% and 6% buying investment property. Single units if that's what I'm doing. But again, multi-unit is attractive because you can still get residential rates, right?
Right.
But I don't mind paying, and there's so much I think about that I wouldn't have been able to do or acquire. We just did 4 townhomes in Aurora last year, and we needed about $400,000, and the banks weren't going to lend that to me. So I went to an investor and I said, "Can you lend me $400,000 at 10%? Here's what the plan is." And then we spent almost a year renovating all of the properties, and then we paid it back. We just refinanced all the properties and paid it back, right? But where would I be if I hadn't had the opportunity to borrow at that 10% interest rate? I wouldn't be able to acquire. I wouldn't be able to renovate. I'd still be sitting here, right?
You wouldn't own all those properties.
I wouldn't have owned all the properties. So that I have tenants now paying off the mortgages, right?
Yes.
10% is good. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Interest rate is okay.
All right.
Don't be afraid. Oh,
number 3.
I got to tax deduct it too. I forgot to tell you.
Oh, yes, you got the tax deducted,
I
which
did.
you don't like paying taxes.
No,
so
I do.
you'll pay your fair share, but not your unfair share, right?
Not my unfair share.
Right.
What they'll allow me to.
Number 3 is prearrange a tenant, or watch out for the pitfall of inheriting tenants. Now, sometimes it's okay. Like in a multi-unit, you want to inherit tenants because you don't want it to be totally vacant.
No, that doesn't look good to the banks.
No, the banks don't want to loan on that, right?
No, they don't.
Even if it's freshly renovated and everything, it needs cash flow. It needs money coming in. So prearranging a tenant is what I do when we're buying a single property or duplex maybe, that we're going to put tenants in it right at closing. So how do we do that? We write clauses in the offer that allow us to show it to prospective tenants before it closes. Because if you buy a property that you're planning on renting out and then you don't put it on the rental market until you actually close on it, it could be a couple months before you have a tenant in it, and you've wasted that money basically.
Yeah.
So how great is that? You close on it. We usually do a week or so before the end of the month. Gives us time to clean it, paint it if we need to, and our tenant moves in the first of the month, and we've only had it vacant for how long? A week. And the beauty is your mortgage is paid in arrears, and the rent's paid in advance.
Right.
So
you just got an extra couple $1,000.
So you get your money before your mortgage is even due. So that's awesome. And number 2, increase the rent.
Increase the rent. So
why would we do that? Because if I got a good tenant, I hear this all the time. I have a good tenant, I don't want to raise the rent.
And I'm probably one of those people. I love good people.
and what happens in 10 years when you haven't raised the rent, and now they're getting the rent for $1,500 a month, and it's rent hard. Is worth $2,200.
I know, like what's right now, right?
Yeah,
I mean, right now the rents have.
I have someone that we just rented their property for them, and we'd rented it for them 2 years earlier, and it was rented at $1,500 a month, and we just rented it at $1,750 a month. and their mortgage hasn't gone up. They're paying the same thing. They had a 5-year mortgage when they did this, and it's a beautiful thing for them because now they have an extra $250 a month in cash flow that wasn't there before. So they can either pay their mortgage down faster or bank it for future renovations or shingles or whatever might be coming up.
Yeah, it's just good to keep up with the rate of inflation, right?
Yep.
The allowable amount
Yes.
within the landlord-tenant
Yeah,
act.
and this year it's 1.8%, I believe.
1.8%.
And it doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's compounded,
Over
1.8,
time.
1.8, 1.8, or 2, or whatever it is, 1.5, it varies based on the government indication.
Yeah.
And
You can offer other incentives, a gift card at Christmas.
I know
right.
we have one tenant, we bring him a ham.
That's
Here's your
That's a
incentive
new
for
one.
staying. Here's a ham.
Here's a ham. There you go. I didn't cook it. Just there's your ham.
That's
or is it already pre-cooked?
It's pre-cooked.
Okay,
Hams are
good.
usually pre-cooked. Or smoked, I guess.
Smoked, yes.
And that may sound coy, but your relationship with your tenant is important because they're beautiful people. They maybe don't have the resources to own or haven't been able
Or
to
they want
save
to.
the money or they don't want to own. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. Home ownership is not for everyone.
Definitely.
Right? So what's number one?
Be fast.
Be fast?
Just do it. Get your pre-approval. Talk to your broker, and be able to move fast.
Right. But you got to be ready to move fast.
You do. You have to
Because
have
if you
all
move
your ducks in
fast
order.
without being ready, that's not good.
No, you have to get all your ducks in order.
Ducks.
Yeah.
I got a phone call to clean my ducks.
Did you?
I said, do you clean geese? They didn't like it
They
very
didn't
much.
like it.
So they don't have any ducks, but I got
Acting fast because you're in a hot real estate market, right?
geese. Yes.
And being able to have everything in, it's very powerful if you can go in on a no financing clauses or, right, having the ability to negotiate. And I know everybody says, well, I'll wait till the market to drop or, you know what, when's the right time to buy? 5 years ago, I'll say it every time. And that, we'll say that for the next 100 years.
Yeah, or 20
right?
years ago.
Or 20 years ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago, 2
And what's
years
the
ago.
next best time to buy?
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Today.
Yeah.
Today, as fast as you can, call us. And you can call Kelly first if you like, because that's one of the ducks you got to put in a row is get your pre-approval.
Yeah, get your finances together.
your
Look at how you're going to
finances together.
structure it, how to strategize it, how to refinance, how to pull money from here and not pull from here. So taxes are a big part of this, right? So it's important to have everything, the whole picture, not just grab some money where you think it should come and then go buy something, right? Because there could be way more beneficial ways to be
Right.
leveraging and utilizing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I've got a great quote for this show.
Okay.
It's if you want something different than what you've had, then it just might require you doing something that you haven't done. So we're excited to be your partners as we're moving forward together. We've got this.